This conference will now be recorded.
Could you notice a larger packet than this? I mean, this is hardly anything. Okay, it's well after 11:30, and Dr. Williams, I see you're aboard, and who else from the board is here?
We do have
Dr. Gray.
Gray's here. That's hi, Gloria. Lauren is here.
Hi, Don. Hi.
as well as Director
Right.
Heath.
Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order and note that there's a quorum. Directors Williams and I are here. Is there any public comment?
Chairman Deere, we've not received any requests for public comment. I do notice that there's a couple members of the public here with us today. If anybody would like to speak, please let us know.
Okay, I note also the presence of Director Houston. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Don.
Are there any presentations?
Chairman Deere, we have no presentations today.
Okay, we're going on item 5, action calendar, approval of minutes. The minutes for 3 board meetings, or 3 meetings, or whatever. Recommendation is to approve the minutes. Is there, do you concur, Director Williams?
Yes, I concur.
Okay, so there's no further discussion on the minutes, is there? They're approved. And we'll go on to item 5B, fiscal year district sponsorship request.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Deere. As you may recall, back in July of this year, the board did have a chance to discuss potential sponsorships for the fiscal year. Of course, we incorporated potential costs within our fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. But at the direction of the board, we do bring back any specific water-related sponsorships. The item that we have before you today is the 2022 Water Reuse Symposium that I believe will be taking place in Texas. This is an event that West Basin has sponsored previously. In years past, we did sponsor at the innovator level in the amount of $5,000. Further, as part of our fiscal year budget that was reviewed and approved by the board of directors, we did include a $5,000 sponsorship for this event. You can see there in the board memo, there are several different options. However, in years past, again, going with past history, we did sponsor at that innovator level. You can see there are additional materials related to this item on packet page 25. And I will read the recommended motion that the board consider sponsoring the 2022 Water Reuse Symposium to be held Sunday through Wednesday, March 6th through 9th of 2022.
All right, comments, board members? Director Williams, you concur that we should continue the sponsorship?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I agree. Any other discussion? Okay, so this item is approved and forward on to the board. Thank you. We'll go on now to item 5C.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Deere. The item before you, 5C, is related to fiscal year 2021-2022 community outreach events. Included in this board memo, we do have 3 events that have requested potential funding. The first is the El Camino College Foundation's 75th anniversary gala. This item actually was brought up, I think, just last month at our Public Information Education Committee. We were talking about the 75th anniversary of West Basin Municipal Water District, and it was noted by one of the directors that it would coincide with El Camino Colleges. This item was brought forth by Director Houston, who would like the board to consider a $2,500 sponsorship that would grant West Basin an advertisement promoting district awareness. This is not an event that West Basin has sponsored before. And I did want to note that on packet page 32, there is additional information specific to the 75th anniversary gala, and the $2,500 would cover a VIP reserved table at that event. The second event is the Venice Marina LAX Lions Club 17th Annual Bingo Night Barbecue Dinner. This item was also requested by Director Houston. It's request consideration for a West Basin sponsor for this event. The item would provide West Basin Municipal Water District both a booth and table to distribute district information, as well as an advertisement promoting the district awareness. You can see there that the total dollar amount of the $250 sponsorship request does cover a bronze sponsorship, and that you can find the information related to that on packet page 35. And last but not least, the City of Hawthorne's Hawthorne Business Expo 2022. This request came from Director Deere, requesting that West Basin consider sponsorship for the City of Hawthorne's Hawthorne Business Expo 2022 event to be held on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's a 2-day event, January 25th and 26th. The request is for a $1,000 sponsorship that would grant West Basin a booth and table to distribute district information and an advertisement promoting district awareness. You can find additional information related to that event on packet page 39. Staff has reviewed the applications, and all 3 applications do meet the requirements of West Basin's community sponsorship program. And with that, there is a recommendation that the board approve the 3 individual actions. And of course, you know, if the committee or board would like to act on all 3 at once or take them individually, staff would move those forward as directed.
My personal preference is just to approve all 3. How about you, Director Williams?
I concur.
Any other comments? All right, then let's move on to the full board with our approval. Committee approval. Okay, item 5D, agenda management renewal.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Deere. The next item that you have before you is an agenda management renewal. For this presentation, we do have our administrative manager here, Julie Fraser Matthew.
Good morning, Chairman, dear members of the committee and board. This annual agenda management renewal that's coming before you today can be located in your agenda packet on page 41. And West Basin currently licenses with Granicus LLC. This is for our agenda management system that is utilized by the district. This management system allows staff to automate the process of our agenda preparation, as well as editing, approving staff reports, agenda minutes. It also allows us to share recordings of the board meetings and the committee meetings directly from our website. It also provides access to the public and other stakeholders to view past meetings and agendas and minutes. The current license agreement is going to expire on December 29th of this year, and staff is seeking the board's approval to renew our annual license agreement. So the recommendation is that the board authorize the interim general manager to amend purchase order number 12500 for the renewal of the agenda management system license with Granicus for a period of 1 year, beginning December 30th and 2021 and ending December 31st, 2022, in the amount of $57,242.61 for a not to exceed amount of $245,607.86. At this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.
This is all already budgeted.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions from the board members?
I just have one question. Why did we wait until this meeting? Why didn't we do this sooner?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Why didn't we make this request sooner?
We typically bring it to the board in November, and we are a little delayed in getting it to the board in December, so I apologize for that.
Okay, well, we have no other option, right?
Well,
This is it?
we're happy with the Granica system that we do have. As the board looks at the DLD building and, you know, where we're going to be located, we'll then consider going out maybe for other services. But right now, for the next year, we'd like to continue with Granicus.
Okay, I can support that.
Thank you.
Okay, I concur. Any other comments from board members? All right, so we will then pass the recommendation
No,
on.
thank you.
Thank you. Item E, agreement award for exterior landscaping services for West Basin facilities.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman Deere. As you mentioned, the next item we have is 5E, agreement award for exterior landscape services for West Basin's facilities. And for this item, we have Nelson Rodriguez, a building maintenance engineer.
Good morning, Chairman Deere and members of the committee and board. My name is Nelson Rodriguez, Facilities Coordinator for West Basin. I'll be presenting this item this morning. It can be referenced on page 43 of your packet. Our current landscape agreement provides services to ECL Water Recycling Facility, Chevron Nitrification Plant, DLD Building, and the JMM facility, and is set to expire on December 31st of 2021. The proposed new landscape services agreement will be for a duration of 2 years to provide both general and friendly garden landscape services at our ECL water recycling plant, the Chevron nitrification plant, the DLD building, and the JMM facility. Additionally, the new proposed agreement will be adding general landscape services for the Honda and Dominguez booster pump stations. The total amount will include $25,000 needed for tree pruning along the inner and outer borders of the ECL plant, plus an additional 15% of the base monthly amount for as-needed repairs and emergency services. The scope of work details for both general landscape and friendly gardens landscapes are included in the agenda packet for your reference. At this time, I will read the recommendation and address any questions that you may have. The recommendation that the board authorize the interim general manager to enter into an agreement with Swayzer Landscapes for the procurement of exterior landscaping services for a term of 2 years, from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023, in the amount of $143,887.92, plus $25,000 for tree pruning, repair, and planning efforts at the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility, and a 15% contingency for as-needed miscellaneous landscape efforts for a total contract amount not to exceed $190,471. I'd like to take this time to address any questions that you may have.
Yes, where is this firm located?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what town is this firm? Where's their headquarters?
I'm sorry, Swayzer is located in the city. Swayzer is located in the city of Carson.
Okay, local. Good. Thank you. Other questions from board members?
Well, Mr. Chair, I see that this contract will expire this month if we don't do anything. I was just wondering, why do we wait so long?
I apologize for the oversight, President Williams. These items are coming to an end here in December. Typically, we would have brought it back in October or November to provide opportunities to find other alternatives. This is one of the rare companies that we have found that have been able to not just serve our outdoor exterior areas, but they actually specialize in ocean-friendly landscapes. So they've actually not only done our facilities, but also assist us with some of the work that we've done at our ocean-friendly gardens that we've constructed throughout the service area. So the firm is kind of rare as far as the work that they do, but we should have brought this back in November.
So this means you're happy with him.
We have been very happy with them. They're very responsive. Again, we still send them out to each of our ocean-friendly gardens when we need individual work at those gardens. So they've been able to assist us there. And of course, when we did request these bids, it is worth noting that we did send a reminder to 227 vendors were notified of the opportunity to bid on the work.
Okay, then. I can support this then.
Okay, I agree. I concur. We'll send it on to the board. Any other comments from my colleagues? And they seem to do good work. We'll go on the next item, which is item F.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Deere. The next item that we have for you is item F. It's a resolution number 12-21-1149. It is related to the Administrative Code Revisions, Part 2, Administration, and Part 3, Human Resources. And for this report, we do have Elisa Fidelio, our Human Resources Analyst.
Good morning, Chairman Deere, members of the committee and the board. Today I'm going to present to you the resolution number 12-21-1149, the Administrative Code Revisions Part 2, Administration, and Part 3, Human Resources. As you are well aware, West Basin Municipal Water District directors are governed by the policies and procedures as referenced in the Administrative Code. Part 2 and Part 3 of the code, which pertains to director benefits and the human resource employee benefits, which were last updated in March of 2021. A review committee made up of the Human Resources and Finance Department staff regularly review Parts 2 and 3 of the code to ensure necessary amendments are made pursuant to issues such as changes in the law, necessary wording revisions, and or other changes. After a thorough review, revisions have been recommended to add clarifying and new language regarding director and employee benefits. The recommended revisions have been reviewed and approved by District Council. Staff is requesting that the board approves, adopts, and authorizes the president to sign the resolution number 12-21-1149, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1-16-1024 as it relates to Part 2 Administration and Part 3 Human Resources of the Administrative Code. And just to reiterate, as required, staff must periodically review these policies to update for any changes in the federal and or state California labor laws to remain in compliance with the Internal Revenue Service codes and regulations, to ensure consistency in wording throughout the document regarding director and employee benefits, and to maintain effective policies that govern employment and to ensure best management employment practices. So at this time, if I may have you turn to page 97 in your packet. It is a matrix of the Administrative Code revisions that we were, that were made. As you can see on the matrix, it does give you a brief description of what changes were made in each article section. So if I may, if you may turn to page 86 in your packet, I will go briefly through the changes to be a little bit more specific as what changes were made. So if we start on page 86, on the section of general eligibility, we just changed the word certain due to the fact to be more specific to specify that not all benefits included in this article are applicable to all directors. That mostly pertains to the retirement policy in this admin code. Moving down to medical insurance plans, we did add retiree widows benefit language to be pursuant to the AQUA JPIA changes that were made in regards to retirees, widow and widower coverage. Next section on page 87, which is the health expense reimbursement. We did have to update the language here on section B. The language was very outdated, which pertained to the district doing the reimbursements in-house. We have changed that since then, and we do use a third party to process our health reimbursement, health reimbursements. Part C, changes were made to be in compliance with IRS codes and in regards to coverage on over-the-counter drugs, medical supplies, and equipment. This was in regards to the CARES Act of March of 2020 to be in compliance with what was reimbursable. Moving down in section D on page 88. In section D, we made changes to clarify the maximum coverage for an individual, which is $4,000 per calendar year. And we also noted that if a new director is elected or appointed mid-year, that they're that they are eligible for a prorated expense reimbursement for their first year, for their first term. Moving on to page 89. In this section, again, this is just to clarify the maximum coverage for your HRA or your health reimbursement. For couples, it is $8,000. For family, it is $12,000. And then moving on to page 90 in your packet. The retirement plan for directors. Again, we had to update the language here since what was in the admin code was outdated. So what was put in place, if you move to page 91, it just references the different tiers for the directors and what they are qualified for depending on when they were elected into office. So as you can see, we have tier 1, which refers to any director that was in the position prior or on December 31st, 2012. We have tier 2, which is a little lower on the page, which references directors that came into office after January 1, 1995 and prior to December 31st, 2012. And then tier 3, which is on page 92 of the packet, references elected officials or directors that were on the board after January 1, 2013. This is all in regards to the pension reform plan. And we are just making sure that we updated the admin code to reflect the new tiers. Moving on the same page of page 92, the director's deferred compensation plan. We just changed the word from employees to directors to just specify it is a benefit for the directors. In the next group life insurance, we just clarified the maximum coverage and that the district is the one who pays for this coverage. If you go to the next page on 93, this is where we had updated the tuition reimbursement program or language to reconcile with the employees' tuition reimbursement benefits that was revised by and approved by the board. I'm sorry, that was adopted by the board in March of this year. And this basically states that the district will reimburse $9,000 per fiscal year for the cost of tuitions, applicable fees, books, for an approved job-related coursework to obtain a bachelor's or master's degree, and reimburses fully for associate exam fees for professional license and certificates. If the director leaves office within 12 months of completion of the degree or acquisition of the professional license or certificate, the entire reimbursement must be repaid to the district, or 50% of the reimbursement is payable if the director leaves within 24 months. And lastly, section 2-1.510, the employment assistance program. This program is a longstanding benefit that was already provided to the directors, but was not reflected in the administrative code. So we added it into the code. So, and it just basically provides services for legal counsel, financial consulting, and family consulting. And so at this time, our recommendation is that the board approves, adopts, and authorizes the president to sign the resolution number 12-21-1149, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District amending resolution number 1-16-1024 as it relates to Part 2 Administration and Part 3 Human Resources of the Administrative Code. I'm sorry, it just dawned on me, there is one section I did miss. If you go to page 66, I believe.
60.
No, I'm sorry, my fault. Page 92. No. I am so sorry. Page 95 of the board packet. This reflects the employees' changes on the health reimbursement program. Again, this was to amend the language to state what is reimbursable in regards to the CARES Act. Again, the over-the-counter drugs, medical supplies and equipment, and other IRS eligible expenses. And also in this section, we did clarify the coverage amount of $4,000 for individuals, $8,000 for couples, and $12,000 for families per a calendar year. And I apologize for that oversight. At this time, does the board have any questions?
Certainly not.
Lisa, if you could the motion included in the memo,
I'm sorry?
could you please reread the motion that's included in the memo?
Sure. The recommendation is that the board approves, adopts, and authorizes the president to sign resolution number 12-21-1149, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1-16-1024 as it relates to Part 2 Administration and Part 3 Human Resources of the Administrative Code.
Okay, are there any questions from board members?
None here.
Go ahead.
I have none, thank you.
Okay. No one else? All right.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much for that report. Do you agree, Director Williams? We should pass this on to the board.
Yes, I do.
Okay, we'll do so then. Thank you very much, all of you, on that one. Next item, item G.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Deere. The item that we have next is to approve resolutions for the annual review of financial policies. You can find that this item does include 4 specific actions, resolutions specifically related to the investment policy, the small and community bank investment program, the swap policy, as well as the debt management policy. And for this report, we do have Marina Rexroad, our manager of finance.
Thank you, EJ, and good afternoon, Chairman Deere and members of the committee. I'm happy to present on item 5G, the approve resolutions for annual review and financial policies memo. And as EJ indicated, this memo begins on page 98 of your packet. As you know, West Basin does maintain its financial policies within its administrative code, in particular Part 4, Chapter 1. And as required by the policy and by best practices, staff does review these policies to update them each year for any changes in federal law, state law, We also look to preserve the financial flexibility. We also want to continue to effectively manage West Basin's assets and safeguard them as well. As EJ indicated, staff did review West Basin's investment policy, the small and community bank investment program policy, swap policy, and the debt management policy, and recommends that the board of directors adopts resolutions 12-21-1145 through 12-21-1148 to incorporate the proposed changes to each respective financial policy. And I'd like to take a few minutes just to walk through each of the proposed changes for you. And that would start with the investment policy that can be found on page 101. So if I could please ask you to move to page 101 of your packet. So staff did request its investment manager, Chandler Asset Management, to review the policy to suggest any changes and additions, which they did, and you'll find them there on page 98 of your memo. There are three specific changes that they had recommended that I'd like to walk you through. The first one is in section 4-1209, which begins on page 106 of the policy. And in fact, this particular change actually also is shown in 107, 109, page 110, and so forth, but we can walk through those as they show up. And really, this change just adds language to exclude supranational securities, which are very high quality securities, from the 5% issuer limitation. And just as a point of reference, the California Code does not have any limitations on the amount of that the district can invest in one issuer. So this is following California Code and just giving us a little bit more flexibility to diversify our portfolio. And as I mentioned, this particular language is found on several pages. The next item that's been recommended for your consideration is 4-1209, item G. This item is to limit the amount of callable federal agencies to 20%. As the code states, we can have unlimited amount, basically 100% in one particular issuer, in this case, federal agencies. However, we found it prudent, and our investment manager found it prudent to limit the amount of callable federal agencies to 20%. So we've incorporated that for your consideration. Also recommended was to adding language to maintain our portfolio at within a 20% of its benchmark. So the board does look at its benchmark periodically, which we try to strive to meet. However, there's times when investments are sold or called or so forth. And so we've added language here to keep that benchmark within 20%. So that will take into account those times when something is unexpected, a call comes through, and it does take us outside of our bench limit, but it does provide us, if you will, bookends at the 20% plus or minus what our benchmark is. Again, we do strive to always meet that benchmark, but there are times when it's hard to do so. So we've incorporated all those changes for your consideration into the investment policy. And following on pages 120 to 138 is district legal counsel's resolution, which they prepared for this particular policy. So I'll stop there to see if there's any questions before I move on to our small and community bank investment program policy.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on then. If I could ask you to move down to page 139 of your packet, and this is this will begin the small and community bank investment program policy. Again, a few items here that we wanted to make some adjustments for. As we were implementing the policy changes that we made last year, we found that there were some sections that were maybe not as clear as they could be. So we went through and we made a few changes. Most of them were to move language from one part of the policy to another, but I'd like to walk you through those changes. So starting on page 139 at the very top, you'll see there under section 4-1.301, B3 in particular, we used to to put in a dollar amount that related to what the what the definition was for a small institution. Rather than to change the policy each time that dollar amount changes, we thought we'd just refer to the definition itself. So let's say next year that total amount changes from 1 billion to 1.3 billion, we don't have to go and change the policy. So that's really the reason for the change, just so we are always in line with that definition. And then moving down to page 139, excuse me, you'll see that we moved some language. This had to do with the program limitation, which currently is at 10 million or 10% of our portfolio. And we just moved that particular language from somewhere else in the policy up here, just to make it a little bit more clear when you're reading the policy. In addition, right below that, you'll see some other language there in red, and that isn't new either. Again, that was just moving it from another part of the policy up to this section 2. Section 2 just kind of outlines what our, I don't want to say our rules, but sort of outlines what the program is about. And then moving down to page, let's see, to the bottom of page 140, we did add some language just to clarify for the investments over 250,000 that the district considers to make, that we would require the bank to provide their latest Community Reinvestment Act report, rating report, or CRA. And we added that in to be consistent with our requirements for those investments over $1 million. And the last thing that we did in this policy is on the top of page 141. This item was removed just because it seemed like redundant language to us. So we wanted to clean this up, and those changes were made to do that. So again, the next pages from, let's see, 142 to 146 is the District Legal Counsel's resolution for your consideration. And I'll pause there again to see if there's any questions in particular with the small community bank investment program.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, very good. I will move on to the swap policy. The swap policy begins on page 147 and runs through 158. So at the beginning of the review of this, staff did reach out to its financial advisors and to its bond counsel to also review this particular policy to see if there was any changes that they would recommend. And we've incorporated those changes for your consideration. Starting at the middle of page 150 is the first change that was made. Here, this should be, actually, I'm sorry, this should read 4-1505H. In the memo, I did put G, so I apologize for that. Here, we're adding language to the evaluation of when we're determining whether we want to go into a swap or not. We wanted to make sure that we included the index that we may be considered, and so that had not been in there before, so we wanted to add that language. And then right below that, you'll see at 4-1506, there is the next item, which is use of independent swap advisors. That's nothing new. That language has already existed, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it its own section. So therefore, you'll see that the numbering all after this will change slightly just because of we wanted to make that its own, like I said, own section within this policy. The next item I want to point you to is on page 156, and this is, we'll wait till we get there, 4-1513, and here we're adding language to allow the district to consider amending the swap if there are changes in the market. We had not had that there before, so we wanted to make sure that we added that for your consideration. And then the last item is down in page 157 through 158, item 4-15.515. And this has to do with the definition of different indexes with the phasing out of LIBOR in the next few years. We wanted to make sure that we want to take that language in consideration. So we removed the reference to LIBOR and to SIFMA. And then we also removed the definition for both LIBOR and SIFMA on the following page, 158. So those are all the changes that were made in relation to the swap policy. And again, the resolution that was prepared by District Council can be found on pages 159 through 170. And I'll stop there to see if there's any questions about those proposed changes.
No, thank you.
It's not.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the last policy that we have for your consideration. This is the debt management policy, and it begins on page 171 and runs all the way through page 190. And there are a number of changes here, although I'll just say nothing is substantial, but let me run through them for you, and then you can answer any questions you may have. So beginning at the top of page 172, we added some clarifying language to add to the role of the executive manager of finance. You'll see there it says in an ethical and prudent manner. And then moving down to the bottom of the same page 172, we did want to clarify that the process for our long-range financial plan is accomplished or may be accomplished through the budget adoption. And there in the budget, you may recall, we do have a 5-year look forward. And so we just wanted to make that reference in here for you. And at the bottom of that page, you can also see we just changed some of the wording to make it a little bit easier to read, where we had the minimum target on debt coverage. We changed it to the minimum debt service coverage target. And then moving down to the next area, which is on page 176. This is 4-1.605. We've added language here for the district to consider when looking at the state revolving fund financing. You can see that there is where it says in connection with any SRF loan, the district will carefully review the terms, covenants, and provisions of the loan to make sure they are preferable over other financing alternatives and so forth. So we did add that language. We thought that was very prudent to do so. And then moving down to page 182, the top of 182, we did change the reference from financial advisor to municipal advisor. They can be used interchangeably, but I believe the more preferred term is municipal advisor, but you'll hear us refer to both of them, either a financial advisor or municipal advisor, but we did make that change here. And then moving down to the middle of page 183, under 4-1613, item E, we added the reference to the remarketing agent and the commercial paper dealer. These are consultants that we do use. In fact, we do use currently when we are dealing with our commercial paper program. So we wanted to add those into the policy. And then moving down to 4-1615, which begins on page 184. These definitions existed before. We just had to move those definitions from farther down into the policy. And then right below that, you'll see there's a reference to the disclosure policy. We wanted to add that. The district does have a disclosure policy, and we wanted to make sure that when the reader looks at this, at the debt management policy, it knew that this policy existed, so we wanted to make reference to it and where to find it in the administrative code. And the last item I have is on page 186, and this is item 4-1618. Again, this has to do with the financial advisor switching out from switching to the municipal advisor. This was just, again, as part of the definitions, we moved it from under item, I guess that would have been O, to the new item, which is on the next page under the municipal advisor. So those are all the changes that we made on the debt management policy. The resolution related to this particular policy is on pages 191 through 209. And again, I'll stop there before I read the recommended motion and see if you have any questions.
I'll wait for the recommendation.
Okay, all right. So as EJ mentioned, there are 4 different recommendations. The reason being we have 4 resolutions for your consideration. So I'll go ahead and read the first, that the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District approves, adopts, and authorizes the President to sign resolution number 12-21-1145, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1-16-1024 Administrative Code regarding investment policy. The second recommendation reads that the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District approves, adopts, and authorizes the President to sign resolution number 12-21-1146, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1-16-1024, Administrative Code, regarding small and community bank investment program. The third item for your consideration is number 3, that the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District approves, adopts, and authorizes the President to sign resolution number 12-21-1147, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1-16-1024 within the Administrative Code regarding swap policy. And the last one for your consideration is that the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District approves, adopts, and authorizes the President to sign resolution number 12-21-1148, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, amending resolution number 1-16-1024 Administrative Code as it relates to the debt management policy. Wow, that was a lot, but I'll pause there to see if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Chair. So how would we make a motion to approve this request? Would we do each resolution separately, or could we do resolutions 1 through 4? How do we have to do this?
President Williams, if you'd like my opinion, I think that in the case of this committee, you could move all 4 items. When it comes to the board meeting, and we actually have a board vote, my preference would be to have the entire board vote on each item individually.
Okay, very good. But I would support moving this forward to the board with all 4, with the understanding that the board will adopt each one separately.
I concur, and there's no further discussion. It's so ordered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very thorough. Now we're on item 6.
Yes, Chairman Deere, we are now at the information calendar, item 6. We are on 6A, and we have a monthly return to the office update. Today's report will be provided by Elisa Fidelio, our human resources analyst.
Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon once again, Chairman Deere, members of the committee and the board. So today I'm just going to give you a quick update in regards to return to the office. As you may all be aware, the California Department of Public Health has updated its masking guidelines as of December 15, 2021 to ensure that individuals continue to collectively protect the health and well-being of all Californians, keep schools open for in-person instruction, and allow California's economy to remain open and thrive. The following are the key questions and answers provided by the California Department of Public Health regarding the updated mask mandate on December 15th. So why are we issuing an updated mask mandate now? This new measure brings an added layer of mitigation as the Omicron variant, a variant of concern as labeled by the World Health Organization, is detected across California, the United States, and the world, and is likely to spread more easily than the SARS-CoV-2 virus and the Delta variant. When will this mandate end? As mentioned, it started December 15, 2021, and it will end January 15, 2022. Do fully vaccinated people always have to wear masks? Yes. The updated guidelines requires all individuals to wear a mask in all indoor public settings where the updated guidance applies, regardless of vaccination status. Does this apply to all workplaces. Yes, the guidelines apply to all workplaces, regardless of whether they serve the public or are open to the public. Masks may be removed if the workplace consists of a single employee or may be removed while an employee is alone in a closed office or room. Do indoor public settings, including local board and committee meetings? Yes, board and committee meetings are considered indoor public settings, so a mask mandate is required. Who is exempt from wearing a mask? People with medical conditions, mental health conditions or disabilities that prevent them from wearing a mask. Persons who are hearing impaired or communicating with a person who is hearing impaired. Persons for whom wearing a mask would create a risk to the person related to their work as determined by local, state, or federal regulators or workplace safety guidelines. Additionally, exceptions to the universal masking requirements apply in the following circumstances and specific settings. Masks may be removed while actively eating or drinking. Persons who work alone in a closed-door office. Workers who wear respiratory protection per Cal OSHA requirements, and persons who are specifically exempt from wearing masks by other California Department of Health guidance. West Basin has continued to adhere to the required mask mandates as directed by the state and the local public jurisdictions. At this point, that concludes my update. Is there any questions that I may answer?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chairman Deere, that brings us to item 6B, our annual financial audit and the annual comprehensive financial report. And for this presentation, we do have Wendy Nakamura, our principal accountant, as well as three special guests here today. We have Scott Mano, Gardenia Duran, and I believe Laura Arvizu. And they are from Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott. Wendy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, EJ. Good afternoon, directors. My presentation starts on page 210 of your board package. Government Code 53891 requires each local agency to submit the financial data to the State Controller's Office no later than February 1, 2022. The financial data must be audited and followed by general accepted accounting principles. Our auditor, Roger, Anderson, Melanie, and Scott, LLC, has audited the financial, complete the financial audit for fiscal year ended on June 30, 2021. Mr. Scott Mano is here today. He will be discuss the audit process and findings after my presentation. As part of the audit procedure, the auditor reviewed West Basin's internal controls, financial policies, tested the financial transactions, reviewed the financial statement, and issued the independent auditor's report. Based on the audit financial statement, which you can find from page 251 to 257 of your board package, West Basin staff prepared annual comprehensive financial report, which you can find in your package from page 221 to 333. The annual comprehensive financial report, including 3 sections. I'm on your package, page 221 right now. Section number 1, which is including the general information about West Basin. Section number 2, including independent auditor's report, management discussion and analysis, and notes to the financial statement. Section number 3, including 10 years history of water sales, revenue, expenses data. West Basin staff prepared the management discussion and analysis report, which is located in section 2, page 243 to 250 of your package. The purpose of the management discussion and analysis report is to provide a summary of West Basin's financial performance during fiscal year 21 to the board, West Basin customers, and general public. There are some major financial highlights for fiscal year 2021. I'm on page 211 of your package. West Basin has a positive change in the net position of 9 million. That means the revenue is exceeding expenses for 9 million. West Basin had a net asset of 815,000 for its OPAC program. This is referred to the Retirees Medical Coverage Program. West Basin had a net pension liability of 1.5 million for the PERS program and net pension asset of 320,000 for the PARS program. West Basin's potable water and monitoring revenue exceeding the expenses by 32 million. West Basin's recycling water revenue exceeding expenses by 614,000. Please keep in mind, we also have depreciation expenses and interest expenses associated with running the recycling facilities. West Basin refunded 2011A and 2011B bond and issued a 2021A bond for the amount of 74.9 million, resulted in 19 million saving in present value. Capital contribution increased by 4.5 million. West Basin received 2 donated recycling water pipeline for the total of 3.5 million. West Basin implemented Government Accounting Standard Board Statement number 84 due to managing the fund for Integrated Regional Water Management Plan. West Basin achieved 1.84 debt coverage, higher than the legal requirement of 1.14 and budgeted number of 1.56. West Basin is ready to submit the annual report, page 221 to 333 on your package, to Government Finance Officers Association for the award of Excellence in Financial Reporting. West Basin has been awarded by this association since 2006. This is the highest award that a government agency can achieve. Report from the independent auditors also attached into your package from page 335 to 347. I also want to take this opportunity to appreciate our auditor for their hard work and dedication to the interim and annual audit. Special thanks to Laura, who is also here today, for her leadership throughout the audit. This is the end of my presentation. At this time, I'll take any question you may have.
Well, it's certainly encouraging to hear that we are continuing to win awards for financial reporting. It's so important that we be accurate, and you folks do a tremendous job. We're very proud of you. Thank you. Questions from my colleagues? Guess not. Thank you very much.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Do we celebrate this good news by letting other folks know about it?
So typically, Director Williams, we do receive notice several months after we do submit, and then we do share that to the general manager, who does share that in their general manager's comments. So when we do hear of any of our awards, be it here for the annual comprehensive financial report or our budget or anything that relates to finance, we do communicate through the GM, and then it's shared in those comments there.
Very good. It's important that others know about this as well.
Absolutely. We can certainly work with our public information group as well to share out as when these achievements are made. I believe they're actually listed on our website under a list of awards as well, is my understanding.
All right. Thank you.
And with that, I believe we still have our presentation from Mr. Scott Mano from the auditing firm.
Thank you, Margaret. My name is Scott Mano. I'm a partner at Rogers, Anderson, Malady, and Scott, and I'm actually going to pawn this off on Laura. And she was the supervisor on the engagement, so she'll be doing all the talking, but I'll be myself, Laura, and Gardner will be here for to answer any questions that you may have at the end of it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura, and today's presentations, we just want to go over an overview of the audit. So if we can go to the next slide.
And real quick, Laura, for those that are playing along on our packet, so page 214, I believe. I might have got that wrong.
And so I just want to go over initially the responsibilities of us as the auditors, and it is to audit the financial statements in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, and the state minimum audit requirement. And in order to do this, we plan the audit to express an opinion as to whether management financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And with this, there's a couple things that we want to point out, and we put extra emphasis on management financial statements because at the end of the day, these statements are based on the records of management. And for our opinion, it is to provide reasonable assurance and not absolute. And the reason we like to state this is because it would be impossible for us to provide an absolute opinion. We could only do this if we were looking at every single transaction that the board was entering into. So therefore, we provide reasonable assurance. And lastly, we provided an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is essentially the best opinion you can get when we're issuing our report. Can we go to the next one, please? And then a little bit about the audit process. We start with reviewing internal controls over financial reporting, and some of the areas that we go through at the beginning of the audit is billing, cash receipts, cash and investments. We do some data analytic testing over payroll and payables. We also do some over your financial closing and reporting procedures, and we're looking at capital assets and long-term debt. And then for actual control testing, we're looking at the controls that the district has in place over cash disbursement, over your purchasing, over contracts, payroll, and then some other areas that kind of encompass a bigger area like your bank reconciliation, journal entries, and things like that. And then once we get to the second part of the audit, we're doing our year-end procedures. And at this point of the audit, we're conducting a detailed audit of the financial records. So at this point, we're actually auditing the numbers. We're relying on the control testing that we did at the beginning. And so we do this through inspecting the documentation. We also ask questions. We look at support, so different invoices, different support for the numbers that are on your financial statement. We go ahead and we confirm the balances for cash and investments with your third parties, the banks and the institutions themselves. We also perform analytical procedures. So this is us reviewing significant variances or any unusual transactions that we noted while looking at your balances at the end of the year. We also go through and review the minutes. So we download and review the minutes throughout the entire year for anything that we might need to look further into. And lastly, we assist management in the preparation of the financial statements, and we review and evaluate to make sure that disclosures are in compliance with GAAP. And then there were no significant changes in the financial reporting from the prior year, and there were no new accounting policies that were adopted during the current year. And like I mentioned before, our auditor's report will express an unmodified opinion. So it'll just say that, in our opinion, the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the district. And like I mentioned before, this is the cleanest opinion that the district could get. There was no material misstatements noted during our audit. Along with the financial statements audit report, we also issued a couple other letters. One is called the Staff 114 letter, and that's a letter to the board that with the different procedures, and it's just stating that we had no uncorrected misstatements to report. There was no difficulties with working with district staff and management, and there was no disagreements with management. The other report that you will see would be the report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. And this one, you will see that there were no deficiencies noted, and then no matters of non-compliance for us to report to you today. And then if you guys have any questions for me about the process or anything else, please let me know.
And I'll just note that within your board packet is those opinion letters starting, I've lost my track of pages, but they're within the board packet. And we did have one management letter comment, a minor one, but we did address it with the auditors that had to do with timely approval of certain forms. So we have discussed this with management, and we'll do a better job of ensuring that we are more timely as it relates to certain documentation. But with that, I also would be happy to answer questions.
Probably no questions. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, if I could jump in real quick. I just want to thank West Basin staff. Excellent job. You know, I think we had one extremely minor adjustment. I mean, minor adjustment, which is excellent. You know, if we don't have to make any adjustments to the financial statements, then they did a great job. And like Laura said, you know, no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses. Again, not having to report that is a sign as well. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's really great to have a good report like that. Thank you. Let's go on to the next item, 6C.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Deere. The item before you, 6C, is our monthly financial report. We do have Marianne Rexroad, our manager of finance, here, and this presentation does begin on packet page 348.
Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon again, directors, Chairman Deere, and members of the board. As EJ mentioned, I'll be presenting on agenda item number 6C. We have several reports to go through. As you recall, staff does present various financial reports each month to the board to keep you apprised of the financial condition and any future needs of the district. So let's begin on page 350 of your packet. This is the demand list for the month of November. The demand list does include all payments for operating the district's business. The demands for the month of November totaled $17.1 million, which you can see that total amount shown on page 355. I have no unusual items to point out for the month, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's move on to the cash and investment report. Again, this could be found in your packet on starting on page 356. This is the cash investment report as of November 30th, 2021. On the first page, you will see the pie chart there, which shows the security type. Again, just to highlight, the majority of your portfolio is held within the money market funds, which in our case is mostly LAIF, for the local agency investment fund, which is through the state of California. We also have about 25% in US Treasuries and about 13% in federal agencies. And that makes up the bulk of the portfolio there. Of course, we do have other investments, as you see in that security type. Just wanted to highlight the top ones there for you. Moving to the next page. So here on this page is our bar charts that shows the credit quality of your portfolio. It is a very high quality portfolio with the majority of the dollars being invested in A or above. We do have, of course, the LAIF funds you'll see in that large bar to the right. That's including the LAIF and your money that's left in the checking accounts. So those are not rated. And again, I just wanted to point that out. And then at the bottom of that page, you'll see the maturity distribution. Again, we try to keep it lateral. We do have a lot in the first column there. Again, just to point out, that does include the LAIF funds, which are in excess of $33 million. On the following page, you'll see the transactions that happened during the month of November. Just one item I'll point out here, you'll see under the buys and as well as under the maturities, there is the One United Bank. That name should sound familiar. This is one of our participants in the Small and Community Investment Bank program that we just talked about. We did have their $1 million investment, which is in CDARS, that came from maturity during the month, and it was renegotiated, and we invested back into another 12-month CDARS investment at a rate of 18 basis points. And then the rest of this particular report from pages 359 through 362 is your portfolio details by type of investment. So I'll pause there to see if there's any questions on your cash and investment report.
Yes, not.
Okay, so if we are okay, let's move on to our monthly water sales report, which begin on page 363 of your packet. At the top of the page is the imported retail sales for both the month and the year to date. Just point out a couple things for the month of November. We were very, very close to what we had budgeted, just about 90 acre feet below that. And likewise, we were just a little bit above what we sold in the month of November for the previous year, about 200 acre feet above that. On a year-to-date basis, we are tracking fairly close to last year, less than a 1% difference. So about 350 acre feet less than last fiscal year through November. And then on a budget to actual basis for fiscal year 21-22, we are tracking about 1.5% below budget, or about 770 acre feet difference. Moving down to the bottom of the page there, you see your imported barrier sales. The dark green color does represent the West Coast barrier sales, and the light green represents the Dominguez Gap. And then it's compared to the prior year, which the dark represents the West Coast barrier and the lighter gray represents the Dominguez Gap. And of course, for the month of November, you are aware that we were not able to inject any recycled water into the West Coast barrier. So we did have a high volume of water that was purchased to be injected into the West Coast barrier. And therefore you see the high numbers of 1,000 acre feet for the month as compared to last fiscal year and to budget. And on a year-to-date basis, we are tracking well above budget, again, due to the Hyperion sewage spill and the accommodations we've had to make because of that. So you can see we did budget about 2,100 acre feet for the year, and we are tracking closer to 6,000 acre feet. And then moving on to the next page will be your recycled water sales. Again, looking at the month of November and the year to date. You'll see that we are well below the month of November as well as the budget. Again, that has to do with the barrier sales that we were unable to have because of the Hyperion spill. We had no injections or no sales of recycled water for the month of November and very low amounts year to date. In fact, if you look at the bottom of that page, we put the little charts together that I think helps to explain what's going on. As I mentioned, you can see in that column labeled barrier for both November and for year to date. We've had no sales to the barrier for the month, as I just mentioned. And then on a year to date basis, we've only had 228 acre feet of recycled barrier sales. On a little better of a note, if you will, the refineries have been performing a little better. You can see for the month of November, we had about 1,600 acre feet, excuse me, of sales as compared to last year of just under 1,400. And then on the disinfected tertiary, we are tracking very close to budget. For the month was 342 as compared to a budget of 349. On a year-to-date basis, again, refineries are tracking fairly close to last year. We are under budget a bit, and that primarily has to do with the low pressure boiler feed sales being lower than we expected. And then the disinfected tertiary is tracking pretty darn close to budget, although we are slightly under last year. So that concludes my report on recycled water sales, but I'd be happy to answer any questions on those.
Yes, no, thank you very much.
Okay. So your last report that we have today is the Director's Conference and Travel Expense Report, which can be found on page 365. And then on 366 is the Executive Management and Staff Travel Expense Report. Again, both these reports are through November of 2021. And that concludes my comments on the monthly financial statements or financial reports.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you.
I guess we've completed that. Thank you very much again. Mr. General Manager, do we have a closed session?
Chairman Deere, we do not have any closed session items today.
Director's comments. Director Williams, comment?
No, thank you. Just happy holidays to everyone.
Okay. Director Houston?
No, thank you.
Director Gray? She's no longer aboard. Okay. Tomorrow we have a water policy committee, and Wednesday we have a board meeting. Is that correct? Is that correct? And I intend to go to attend the board meeting at this point in time. And that's about all we have comments. It certainly reflects the quality of our financial department's staff. We're really, really proud of them. They do such good work. They all do good work, but we're proud of them particularly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman Deere, members of the committee and board. Thank you to staff as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and happy holidays.
There's somebody said something I didn't hear. Okay, there's no other comments? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye now. See you tomorrow.
Bye.